Moving on to Unit 3.8. Oh, Carol. Units 3.8 guided notes. This is the last subunit for Unit 3. So congratulations on making it this far. Alright, what are zeros? Well, we know what a zero is. It's a symbol that represents the absence of something. It's a symbol that represents nothing. It's an invented symbol because zero didn't used to be a thing. Alright, so what are zeros? Graphically, right, zeros are where it's the point where points, plural, at which the graph crosses, or intersects the x-axis, which is our horizontal line, right? Algebraically, I don't know if that's spelled right. Algebraically, it's the point or points at which f of x is 0. So, what happens when y is 0? Where does it cross the x-axis? Right? Those are your zeros. They might also be called roots. And I have personal knowledge of the fact that in Algebra 2, all of your teachers will call them roots. They will ask you what are the roots of this graph, and they mean what are the zeros, or where does it cross the x-axis. They might also call them x-intercepts, which makes sense because it's where the line intersects the x-axis, so they're intercepts. Like an interception in football, it's where it crosses the x-axis. And they might also be called solutions. So sometimes you just have to analyze the question and figure out what they're asking for. If they give you a graph and they ask for the roots, or they ask for the x-intercepts, or they ask for the zeros, like they're asking for the places where it crosses the x-axis. To do this, you can either look at the graph and figure out where it crosses the x-axis, or you can ask yourself, if y is 0, what's x? Because if y is 0, it will tell you where it crosses the x-axis. Alright, so let's say they give it to us on a graph, and they're asking us, I love how they said f of x instead of y, just to remind you. Anyways, so if you ask yourself, where does this curve, this line, cross the x-axis? It crosses right here and right here. That's where it crosses the x-axis, the horizontal line. Those are your zeros, also known as your x-intercepts or your roots, right? And there's two ways you can write them. It depends on the teacher. You can write them as ordered pairs, right? So this would be -2, 0, because it goes left 2 and it doesn't go up or down. This is why I said you can find your x-intercepts by making a y 0, right? Or +1, 0, right? That's one way to answer the question. If your teacher wants it in ordered pairs, this is what you do. Those are the ordered pairs for those 2 points. If it just wants it in a solution set, right, x is either -2 or 1, which in a solution set looks like this, right? So, solution set, coordinates, ordered pairs. It depends on how your teacher wants it. But at the end of the day, they're asking, where does your line cross the x-axis? Right? So let's look at another one. Where does the line cross the x-axis? Always go ahead and put the points there so you know how many answers you should have. It crosses the x-axis here and here. I should have 2 answers. Right? Either 2 ordered pairs or 2 numbers in my solution set. 2 answers. Right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4. -4, 0. And this is 1, 0. Also could be written as -4, 1. Could be written as x is equal to -4 and 1. All of these are true answers. It depends on what the question is. If it asks for the x-intercepts, this is your best answer. If it asks for the zeros, this is your best answer. If it asks for the solution set, this is the best answer. You see what I'm saying? It depends on the question. If it asks for the roots, this might be your best answer actually. So it just depends on what your teacher wants. This is why it's so important to figure out how your teacher works. Alright, it crosses the x-axis 1, 2, 3 times. So I should have 3 answers. Let's do ordered pair first. 0, 0. Because that's the origin. 1, 2, 3, 0. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5, 0. Those are our ordered pairs. Let's do the solution set. Right? Our zeros are -5, 0, and 3. And then let's do roots. Right? It could be -5, 0, and 3. All the same information, just different ways to write it. Alright, so that's if they give you a graph. What if they give you an equation? How do you find out what the x is? Well, it's called zeros for a reason, right? The y is always going to be 0 if it's crossing the x-axis. So if we want to know where this crosses the x-axis, all we have to do is set it equal to 0. All we have to do is set it equal to 0. Because the y, if the y is 0, it's going to tell us where it crosses the x-axis. And then solve. 2x equals -2 divided by 2. X is equal to -1. That's your 0. When y is 0, x is -1. That's your ordered pair. When y is 0, x is -1. Right, so all you have to do is set the equation, or the function, whatever you want to call it, equal to 0 and solve. 2 over 3x minus 6, set it equal to 0, and then solve for x. Times 3 is 18, divided by 2 is 9. So your roots are 9, your zeros are 9, your solution set is 9. Your ordered pair, however you want to write it. When y is 0, we set it equal to 0, x is 9. This is the point where it crosses the x-axis. That's the point right there. We found it by setting the equation equal to 0. Set the equation equal to 0 and solve. Negative 2 over 5, x plus 4 equals 0. All the things you already know how to do are coming into play here. Don't lose your signs. If it's a negative 4 here, it's a negative 4 here, it's a negative 4 here. If you're trying to get rid of negative 2 over 5, then you need to multiply by negative 5 over 2. Don't lose the negative. These will cancel out to 1. Where's my x? Don't forget your x. Negative 4 times negative 5 is 20. Divided by 2 is 10. So whether they call it root, x equals 10. Whether they call it x-intercept, which is 10 comma 0, or whether they call it zeros, x equals 10. Well, let's put that one in the solution set, just because. However they want the answer, this is how you do it. Solve for 0, find the x.